Get in here and take a look at this washer. Never a dull moment on the homestead, always stuff breaking down. Oh, hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel. I guess a couple of weeks ago, my wife started letting me know, kind of complaining that the clothes were not getting dry at the end of the cycle, you know, at the end of the spin cycle or whatever. They weren't getting dry, and I'm like, man, it's always something, you know. So I looked at the thing and I kind of poked around inside of there, and I could tell that the actual tub was spinning freely, where in the past it didn't spin that easily. You could make it spin, but you had to like reach in there and use some force. Now it's almost like it's on a ball bearing. So I presume that my clutch has gone bad on this unit. So I did a lot of research and I ordered a new clutch. I wanted to get a factory type clutch since this is a good old fashioned, you know, old style direct drive washing machine, which I highly recommend. They're way better than the new style ones that have the computer boards. This one doesn't have any of that stuff. It doesn't have any sensors. Yeah, it probably uses more water, but I'm on a well, so that doesn't really affect me. And we've got plenty of water in the state that I'm in. So if you're in a state where, you know, water's not so plentiful, maybe you do need one of those super high, you know, efficient, low water use European style washers. But I prefer the good old-fashioned American style. And the great thing about these old-style direct drive machines is they're repairable and they're fairly easy to work on. So in this video, I hope to show you guys how to change out the clutch on an old Kenmore, or this one's a Whirlpool, but pretty much all of these direct drive units work pretty much the same way, with only some minor differences in how you have to access them. So anyway, I'm going to get you pulled in here and we'll start ripping this thing apart. I want to show you how to get in here and open up the case. And the reason that I'm taking the case off is mainly so you guys will be able to see what we're working on better. But it's probably a little easier with the case removed. So let's get into that. There are a couple of screws up here. I've already taken them loose. You got to take these two screws out right here. Save them, set them to the side. And then this thing, they all work a little different, so you're just going to have to figure it out on your unit. On this one, you slide the bottom forward a little bit, and there are a couple of hooks that stick in there. And once you get that up, you can tilt this thing back like that. It's made for it. Now be careful with it, because all of this stuff on my machine is plastic, so we want to be careful with that. And right here we have what I believe is the lid switch, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is the plug for the lid switch, so we're going to go ahead and disconnect that while we're here. Just get that out of the way. All right, now come on out of there. Maybe I have to go down through the inside. Yeah, that's the ticket. And, you know, just kind of hang on to that. Pay attention to how that went in there. It went in like that, so we should be able to put it back together. It'll probably only go one way. We got to take both of those out. And also, I didn't show it. I haven't showed you the back of the unit here, but you're going to want to disconnect your water lines. I think you can get away with leaving the drain on there. I think that'll be okay, but the actual water lines you want to disconnect, because you don't want to break them. Okay, so we're just going to pull this back a little. Looks like that's about all I can go. Okay, that should stay with that part. Okay, now on my unit, there's one extra screw back here in the back. I don't know if I'm going to have to take that off or not. We're going to attempt to do it just like I've done every other one. You kind of tilt back on it a little bit. Yeah, that's going to work. You tilt back, and once you have it tilted back, I can't really show you the bottom, but there's a lip down here at the bottom, and that whole thing, the case sits on that lip. And once you have that off, you can pull the whole thing apart just like this. Now we can see what we're working with. Let me get you off the tripod here. See, that wasn't that bad. That's why I'm telling you, it's probably worth it to go ahead and take the cover off. It's pretty easy. But yeah, obviously I've got some corrosion right in there. I can clean that up and spray that down. maybe get another 10 years out of this unit. This is the clutch unit right here. This is what we're after. And I can see it's basically brown. It still seems to be grabbing some, but it's not, it's slipping enough to where it's not letting it spin at full speed. And maybe it's not doing it all the time, but it's doing it some of the time where it's not allowing this thing to spin at full speed. So what we're gonna have to do is drop this transmission and the motor all at the same time. Now, I've seen some people that will take the motor off of the transmission, and there is a little coupler in there. If you think your coupler is worn, you should do that. But if you don't think that's the problem, and you think it's just the clutch, then I recommend pulling the motor and the transmission at the same time, even though it's going to be heavy. You know, it's a pretty heavy unit, so that's why some people choose to go ahead and take the motor loose, but I don't think we're gonna do that. All right, so now we're gonna carefully flip this thing up on its back. And just to take a little extra precaution, I'm gonna use some of this stuff. I don't know what to call it, foam stuff here, egg crate foam, to kind of give it a little padding so that hopefully I won't break any of my fittings or crack any of these plastic fittings on the back. Now I should be able to grab here. This should be rigid enough, I would think. And just lean everything back. And just, you know, be careful. Don't hurt yourself. Okay. All right. And of course now water's going to spill out on my moving blanket, but that's okay. If you got something like that, man, these moving blankets are really nice. You can get them down at Harbor Freight for fairly cheap when they're on sale. They're nice for these kinds of projects, but look how clean that is, man. I was actually pleasantly surprised. You know, I ain't gonna lie, I've watched some other people on YouTube over the years doing videos on their washing machines, and every one I've ever seen, that transmission is completely covered with rust. Probably would have been a little easier for me to do this while I was standing up. But we have to take this thing off. It's got water in it, great. Inside of there, there's a plastic little cap thing. You'll be able to figure it out. I don't know why that was loose like that, but it was loose already. Okay. So you should be able to pull that out. And we'll just leave all that inside there. There's a bolt in there. This will be fine. Now this just pulls straight off. And I need you to come in here so that when we get ready to slide the motor out, that little clip just comes right off just like that. I'm just going to set it right there, and then this thing comes off. And pay attention to that. Obviously it has one way that it goes down like that, and I think that's it. Yeah, I believe so. If you were taking the tub out, you would have to take this off. And there's like a special wrench, or you can get a screwdriver sometimes and tap on it right there and get it to come loose. But yeah, we're not taking the tub off. We're taking the motor and the transmission out. Okay. Trying to see what that is. I think it's a 1/2 inch. Yeah, 1/2 inch. And I believe it was the same on that bolt inside the tub. Is we're going to disconnect this power wire, this power plug. Just use a screwdriver like that and pull that out to the side. Now I'm just inspecting things. Everything actually looks okay. I see a little bit of rust in here, but I was looking at the terminals. They look okay. I don't see any problems with any of that. So we'll just pull that out of the way, off to the side. Now this here is your water pump. So if your washer is not draining and your clutch is good, it could actually be this little water pump right here. And But I know mine is good because, like I said, I was turning the tub and I was getting no resistance. So you just pry that up, and the way these work, they kind of twist lock in there. So as long as you remember that when you're going back together, you can actually pull these out and put them to the side. That way you don't get sliced up by them. Okay, so now that should be loose. Now this is a keyed shaft. There are 2 flats on this motor, so pay attention to that when you're putting it back together. But for now, we can just set this to the side somewhere, however we can get it out of our way. Don't want to break anything or bend any lines. There, that should work. Okay, so we're disconnected there. Okay, we're gonna have to disconnect the capacitor. Both of these wires are the same color, so I should be able to disconnect them, but I'm gonna give you a warning right now. This is just a general PSA for anybody that doesn't know this. Capacitors store energy, much like a battery does, except for typically it's much higher than a battery. So the last thing you want to do is lay your flesh across both of these terminals, because it might, I don't think it would kill you, but it would definitely shock the crap out of you and you'd be pretty upset about it. So don't do that. We're going to take this little wire out of the loom just so that we can move it, and then we're going to disconnect these. I pulled you in there because notice they're both the same color. That indicates to me that they're not, you don't have to put them on a specific terminal. At least that's the theory. Otherwise, they would be a certain color. You know, they'd one be red, one be black, whatever. So we're going to pull that off, but we're going to be careful now that that capacitor is exposed like that. What some people will do just for safety, electricians and stuff, will do this. It might spark. It didn't spark. Okay, that's good. But lay something metal. See how I'm shielded though? I got plastic here, so it can't shock me. Lay something metal across there on both terminals. That way, now you know it's safe. It's not gonna shock you now. All right, so now I'm just checking everything. It looks to me as if we're ready to pull the motor and transmission all together as one unit. I've got my 1/2 inch. I'm gonna break these loose. It'd be nice if I didn't lose them inside the frame. And since the thing's tilted just a little, I'm gonna hang on to it. And there's one more kind of hidden up under the motor right here. Now, as I stated earlier, I've seen some people that actually take the motor off of the transmission when they do this job. If you're not very strong, you should probably do that, you know, because these things are pretty heavy and it's going to be hard to pull this in and out by yourself. But that should be it. So now we just get you going. What's going on here, guys, but usually they just pop right out. There we go. Okay, what a pain in the ass that was. All right, there's the clutch. Hopefully that's grease and not blood, we'll see. I think it's grease. Yeah, it is. All right, now that was the hard part. Well, maybe. It might be hard to get it back into, but I think that was going to be the hardest part. My guess is there was some grime right here. In fact, I can see it. There's like some grease and grime right there. I probably should have maybe taken a little bit of steel wool or something and hit that before I pushed it through, unless it was already under the surface. So I don't really know exactly where that was. But anyway, here's your clutch. That's what we're looking at. Let's get a close-up of that. I want to show this. So this thing is just, it's just spinning freely like that. And I can see, you can see the old clutch pads in there versus the new ones, which look to be about, I'd say almost twice as thick. So you can definitely tell there's some wear on that. But on this new one, when I push it like this, it's really, really stiff. This one, it's just going. Even, oh look, that one clutch pad is not even straight anymore. So yeah, it's definitely bad. So what's weird about it is when I hold it, it's like it's locked up or something. So I don't know. The clutch is bad, I know that. So we're gonna pull this little washer thing here, little spacer, to make sure you don't lose it. It only goes one way. And then down here, so next up here, we got this, what I call an E-clip. I don't know what they call it, but we got to take this clip off. That's what's holding the clutch on. One of the things. So we're just gonna find us a place to bite and work that off. Hopefully we can do it without shooting it across the shop. Come on, get off of there. All right, got it. Okay, now under here, now that is blood. Under here, there's a little spring retainer thing that we have to get out. Okay, it wasn't too bad, but you'll notice there's a point down there, a hook, where it goes into that. So we'll save that. I think the new kit comes with one, but in case it doesn't, we'll save that. And let's see here. Now I noticed there's two different springs included, and neither one of them are the color of the spring that I have in there. So if you need to change your spring, the way you do it is you get some channel locks like this, and you crimp down on that. You basically take pliers or channel locks like this, and you can change out the spring. They send you two springs. I don't really know why. I'm sure they're different thicknesses or stiffnesses, but it looks to me that this is the thicker spring, so it's probably the heavier one. I'm gonna leave that in there. Hopefully that's the right thing to do. I'm not real sure. It's probably, it may not even matter one way or the other, to be honest with you, but. Okay, so we put that back in. Make sure it's seated all the way down in there. And now this is all loose, so we should be able to pull that up. It just keys in like that. We'll be able to pull that up and get that out of the way. That's the old clutch. All right, it comes with this little plastic keeper thing that goes on the bottom side. I was thinking it went on the top side, but it goes on the bottom side. So we'll stick that up in there, make sure it's locked in. Get your new clutch, slide it down in here, and then wiggle it till you find the place it wants to live there. Wiggle it down into place, and I don't see a new spring, so you got to reuse the old one. We'll turn that over there like that. Put this little spring back on. I'm going to start right there. Okay, just make sure it's down in the groove all the way around. Hopefully I didn't block you off on that, but all right. Next, we're going to put the keeper back on. Guess I'll go ahead and wipe it off a little. Okay. there's a groove that it sits in, and sometimes the best way to do these is with a pair of channel locks. You can just grab it like this and then push it as far as you can, tap it on the rest of the way. She's home. And let's not forget this piece here. Again, we'll just wipe it down. Okay, now I notice this thing has a little groove in it. My gut's telling me that that groove goes in to there on this side. So that's what we're going to go with. It may not matter, but yeah, that feels right to me. See this thing here, it's actually the brake, and I got a new one with the kit. Again, another keeper. It would help if I could see it. I can't see it. Get it out enough, then you can get your screwdriver behind it. Okay, we're gonna pull that keeper off. We're gonna pull this guy down, just like that. And we're just sizing it up and looking at it, making sure everything looks the same. It does. Now the clutch kit I bought is actually a factory Whirlpool clutch kit, so we shouldn't have any issues. There are a couple little tabs back here, little nipples, I guess we'll call them, that stick out there that have to go in these little divots. So make sure you get that lined up. Okay, that's a little odd. It appears that there's something like a little piece of that tab broke off inside of there. Yep. There it went. Okay, so watch out for that. There was a little piece of the old one. I noticed they were really short, but I didn't notice they were completely sheared off, and they were broken off inside of those holes. So I'm glad I caught that because it wasn't sitting in there all the way like it was supposed to. Now it's going in. Okay, get our clip back. See if we can do it with the channels. Yep, just like that. Make sure we're locked in, everything's good. All right, we're ready to install. We got everything done, the new clutch is on, all the clips are back on. So it should just be a matter of getting past that little rough part there. Here we go. Getting my light out of the way. And okay. Now, you can't really see it, but this motor or this transmission actually has some divots on the back end of it that key into the little rods that are sticking out of the bottom of the washer there. So you can't really line it up incorrectly, I don't believe. Let's get a couple started here. And that last one. So again, not a hard job, just you got to kind of know what you're doing, know what you're getting into type of deal. Okay. Now, ready to put this back on. Again, paying attention to our flat spots on here so that it lines up. There we go. Okay, now there's some little index points in here that these little feet set down into. They slide down. Hopefully you can see that right there where my fingertip is. Those go down in there, and this guy locks in like that. Now we grab these little T-clip things. Same on the back. Capacitor, don't forget to plug that back in. And our plug. And even our wires here, we want to make sure and protect those. Get them up here in the wire loom thing. Clip that back in. And that is how you change a bad clutch out on a washing machine. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope this has been helpful for you. I'm not going to stand it up and turn it on because I know it's going to work. In fact, if it doesn't work, I'll let you know in the next video, because I'm going to be doing another video on this washer about how to keep it from walking across the floor or dancing around on one leg, basically spinning out of balance. We're going to work on that next. But anyway, I appreciate you tuning in. I hope this helped you out. Get out there and get something done in your shop, man. It feels good. We'll see you next time.